What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Razimor Apter. I don't know where that singing came from. I'm sorry, let me fix the camera here. I'm gonna zoom in a little on my wedge. Wedge is facing the gay Hebrew slang. What's up, everyone? Today I'm going to talk about my first GRINDR hookup. And it's a very special story that I always tell people because I don't know if I can say I'm proud of it or it's pretty unique considering my identity or what I was back then when I actually hooked up and what I still am today. So let me get to my point. But, not the but, like B-U-T. Before I continue, please subscribe to my channel and click the ring bell so we can stay connected and so you can know next time I post. Here I go with the story. So I'm an Israeli and I'm someone who lived in Canada for 10 to 12 years. And when I was in Canada in university especially, I was the president of the Israeli Students Association in my university. So a lot of time I was fighting, not a lot of time, the whole time I was fighting anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism on campus and fighting a lot of anti-Semitic acts on campus, but also on social media, and I was generally very pro-Israeli. Israel was going through wars every couple of years, and there was a really important need to do hasbara, like explanation, and justifying what Israel is doing, and to take away all the lies that were being said about Israel in the media and by pro-Palestinian organizations on campus. So during this time period, I came out of the closet, like I talked about it in this video. And what I said in this video also is that when I came out, right before I came out, I met up with a guy from GRINDR, and then I told my friends. With that guy, I didn't really hook up or anything. I didn't do something too sexual. I just met up with him, and then I realized that I feel comfortable with it, and I came out. My very first GRINDR hookup happened with someone about a couple of days after that I came out to my friends. So it's this guy that I was talking to on GRINDR. He had no picture on his profile, and I also didn't show my picture then. I just showed my body, and with this side, because the other side had my Israel tattoo. So I talked to this guy. We started talking to each other. Hi, how are you? This, that. He's like, I'm in your area. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I asked for pictures. So first he sent me his body pictures, and then he started sending me his face separate from the body. So I never knew if he's actually real or not. So then I asked for more pictures of the actual face, and he sent it to me. And he looked pretty good. He looked kind of like he had light brown skin. He looked kind of Middle Eastern. I thought he was Persian or Arabic of any sort, or maybe even Israeli. I couldn't really tell what he was. I sent him my pictures too. He said I look good. And then one of my pictures, he saw a Jewish star. So he's like, oh, you're from Israel? I'm like, yes, I am. And he's like, oh, cool, okay. Then we're very close, we're neighbors. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, I'm from Palestine. I'm like, what do you mean you're from Palestine? We're in the Palestinian territories. Because as someone who's very pro-Israeli and very, in Canada there is a lot of anti-Semitism, anti-Israelism on campuses, so I was very kind of charged politically at that time. And I'm like, I'm from Palestine. And in my head it's like, Palestine, like he tried to present it like as a country, like Israel and Palestine. I said, like in my head, like, where's Palestine? Like, what do you mean by Palestine? So you're probably from the West Bank or Gaza Strip, because that's how I recognized back then the Palestinian territories. So he told me that he's from Tira, and Tira is actually a city inside of Israel, but he also had family in the West Bank. I'm like, okay, this is interesting, because in my head he's like really good looking, but he's also Palestinian and he knows that I'm Israeli. So I was kind of, kind of also charged, but also worried, and also should I do it, should I not? Also kind of horny too, because it was still for my first kind of GRINDR hookups, GRINDR meetups, like one of the very first ones. I didn't have much experience before that. By openly going and meeting with someone, I'm like, okay, where are you right now? He's like, I'm in the area, I'm not from here, like I'm in Vaughan. That's where I lived. And I said, okay, so what do you want to do? He said, would you want to meet up? I'm like, sure, but I can't host. In GRINDR terms, hosting is when you host someone in your house. So I'm like, I can only meet you with my car if you want. He's like, okay, where would you want to meet up? And then I thought of some parking lots that are close to my house, because often on GRINDR, that's how I would meet up with people. If they couldn't host in their place, I would meet up with them in my or their car. It's in some parking lot to have some sort of fun with them. It was this Walmart parking lot, I'm gonna say it now. So I arrived there with my car, and I'm waiting for him. He's still not there. I'm like, I told him exactly where I was. He comes with the car, and then I see that it's actually him in the car. The car is exactly how he described it. And then I'm like, so what do you want to do? Should I go to you? Will you come to my car? And then he said, no, come to my car. And this kind of situation, it's like, it's very scary because in Israel there were wars going on and Israel politically was very charged, and it would be very, very not smart to go into a Palestinian's car, let's say in East Jerusalem or generally in Israel, because it would be very dangerous. Oftentimes it happened that an Israeli was kidnapped by a Palestinian. So with that in my mind, I thought, should I go in the car or not? But like, I'm in Canada, like what can he possibly do to me? Like he thinks I'm hot, I think he's hot, like we're gay. That's something that unites us, like before we're Palestinian or Israeli. I trusted my gut and I went inside the car and I went in the front. He sat in the front too. And I'm like, hi, hello. And we started talking. And I have to admit, he was kind of cute. Like he was just generally kind and like calm. And even though we both knew each other's sides and what each of us thinks about the other side, there was some sort of hot tension in the car. Like I can't explain it. It's like we shouldn't do this, but we want to, and but we still haven't talked about the political topics, even though I'm charged and I know that he's charged too from the conversation. So then I'm just starting to talk to him about what I do in life, and I told him that I study international politics with the focus on the Middle East, and I do all these things in my university. And then from there it escalated to a political conversation. And then we started talking about politics for about an hour and a half. We're in his car, talking calmly. At some point, lighting up like with anger, and like my voice would go up often because that's how I am when I talk about politics and something I'm passionate about. And you just see back and forth by me defending IDF soldiers in Israel and explaining to him from my perspective what is being done and why it's being done. And then he tells me from his perspective how he sees soldiers as killers, as people who like have no sympathy for the Palestinian children. Telling me how he's not a Hamas supporter, but he can understand why terrorists go to terrorize. He can understand why it gets to that point. And in my head, I'm like, how can you even justify it? And then he tells me from his side, but how do you see like IDF bombing Gaza and doing all these things? It was a really heated argument. Like it was like me arguing with someone who is extremely pro-Palestinian, who really hates Israel and pro-Israelis, and it would annoy me, but at the same time I'm attracted to him. So I'm like, let's end this conversation. Let me leave the car, or it's gonna end really badly, or it will end really badly. So the conversation started calming down by me talking about Tel Aviv, even though he still wasn't happy about what I say about Tel Aviv and the Tel Aviv pride, because he says every time he flew to Israel to visit his family, he has a lot of profiling being done to him and a lot of questions being asked in the airport, why he's here, who he has here, why did he leave? All these questions that he always gets interrogated by, which makes him like hate Israel even more and not want to visit Tel Aviv at all. Like he just goes to his family and goes back to Canada. So I said, you should come once with me to Tel Aviv, or you should come to Tel Aviv and you'll see how welcoming all the gays are there for Arabs and Palestinians, when they know, especially for Palestinians, when they know they come from areas that are not necessarily friendly to gays and they choose to come to Tel Aviv. Israelis and Tel Avivians are very open and friendly, at least the Tel Avivians I met. And at least I'm like that too. When I saw Arabs come to Tel Aviv, I was very happy with it and I wanted to show them how accepting the city is. I still didn't convince him and he still didn't want to come to Israel. So from one thing to another, this emotional chargedness and this heat in the car ended up somehow translating into a fun experience where he just went to me and he started kissing me. And from there, it was a history that I'm not going to go into details. I have to say that it was a very good experience and it was very fun. And even to me at the end, even though I was still pretty new to this whole, meeting up with guys in the car and or just generally meeting up for hookups, he said, wow, I can tell you're really experienced. I'm like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I guess I am. So it was a very, very cool experience. And the reason I'm saying this story is because even with the political differences and the differences in opinion between two really heated and charged sides of an argument against each other, it's still possible to forget all the politics, put it behind, and connect in ways that you never thought you could or would. Because other than the political conversations that him and I had, the human conversations we had, the gay conversations we had, when he told me about how he's not out to his family because he doesn't think they'll accept him, and how I told him about my coming out story to my friends, and then how I was gonna come out to my family. Around the gay topic, we were actually very well united, and we just generally talked about a lot of other things that from a human perspective, we had a really good connection and a really good vibe with each other. I sometimes pride myself with the fact that one of my first hookups with gays was with a Palestinian person, and the reason why I mentioned a Palestinian and not a Mexican or a Canadian or a Russian is because I at that time was very pro-Israeli and very politically charged for those couple of years, and theoretically I shouldn't even met with him, and I should have just argued with him on GRINDR and like said bye to him and blocked him. But I still gave it a chance. I still trusted him. I went to inside his car. We had a heated conversation, but at the end everything turned out well, and it was fine and it was fun, very fun actually. And love, I'm not saying that I loved him, but general sympathy and love towards the other side and acceptance and patience towards the other side can do miracles and bring about good results. And if it wasn't for my probably homosexuality and me meeting up with him, I probably wouldn't have had this opinion and wouldn't be telling you this story. Back to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I believe that if you let the Israeli people and the Palestinian people, you know, the peaceful majority on both sides, to talk to each other and make peace, it would have been done in a second. I think politics and politicians are there to divide us for their own political interests, but in my opinion, there is hope for both sides to reconcile and to live with each other peacefully. And that's all I have to say about this topic now. So this was my GRINDR story. I might tell you more of my GRINDR stories in the future. I have a really cool catfish story that I have to tell you about. That will be probably for next week or for another time. This is Razimor Apter. Like this video, comment whatever your thoughts are. Would you have met with someone who is like politically against you? If you were a Croatian, would you have met with a Serbian? If you're a Russian, would you have met with a Ukrainian? If you're a Jew, would you have met with an Arab of any country? Let me know in the comments below. If yes, say why. If no, say why not to. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because this is how we stay connected, and this is how you'll know next time I post. I'll see you next week, as in every Wednesday. Bye!